Could I ask that IT colleagues start the recording? Okay. I now ask Cheryl to call for the sediment and intimate any apologies.
Thanks, Chair. I'll just run through the day, and if you'd indicate your attendance, please. Councillor Douglas Reid.
Yeah.
Councillor Jim McMahon.
Yes, thanks.
Councillor John McFadden. Councillor Elaine Cowan. Councillor Maureen Mackay.
Present.
Councillor Ian Linton.
Here.
Councillor Graham Barton.
Yeah, thanks.
I've got apologies from Councillor Barry Douglas. Councillor Neil Ingram.
Yeah, thanks.
Councillor Claire Maitland.
Here.
Councillor Drew Filson.
Here.
I've got apologies from Dr David Lewis and Reverend Harriet Johnston. Babs Mowat.
I'm here.
Hazel Malacotti. Jackie Livingston.
I'm here.
Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Cheryl. Just as you mentioned there, Hazel Malacotti, she's our new teacher representative from Robert Burns Academy. I think she's not on just now, but just for the sake of recording, we'd like to welcome her when she does. I think she's trying to go online this morning, but hopefully she'll be able to do so, and we'll welcome her when she does. Okay, item number 1 is declaration of interest. Graham.
Thanks, Leader. I'm going to withdraw from item 4E. I have a close family member who attends that school and that we're going to be discussing, so I'm just going to withdraw myself for that.
Okay. Anyone else? Thanks, Graham. Anyone else? No? Okay, we go to the East Ayrshire Performance Summary Report, and to start off is Joe McLaughlin. Joe.
Thank you, Chair. Morning, members. The announcement yesterday by the Scottish Government and the mood music around the impending UK Government budget signals the continuation of the funding pressures that we've seen over recent years. And this, when coupled with the significant increase in demand pressures, will see a need for services to change, to innovate, and to take all possible actions to align service costs to the available financial resource. The East Ayrshire Performance Report before you today acts as a bellwether for these pressures and sets out in financial terms the ongoing stresses and strains that service budgets are experiencing as they try to respond to lower funding, higher demand, and increased costs. It is a different East Ayrshire Performance Report that is presented today. One where the report, which takes account of the financial position as at the end of July, is unusual in that it reviewed actual spend as well as calculating the likely financial projection for council services through to March next year. By spending time analysing the actual spend at July, particularly around those costs that were incurred through supplies and services and third-party payments, we were able to establish that these budget headings have a combined overspend of around £6 million across all services. More importantly, by speaking to heads of service and budget holders about further planned spend this year and the actions they intend taking to deal with the rising demand and service costs, then there is the potential, if left unchecked, for the council to end the financial year with a possible overspend of around £20 million at March 2025. I would stress, however, that this is only if no action is taken to reduce costs and demand. As members are aware, we've taken previous actions to prepare us for today. You have approved increases to the General Fund uncommitted balance. Council approved the revised financial regulations in June, enhancing government arrangements and requiring recovery plans to be created where overspends occur. You approved the creation of an innovation fund to support services to transition and innovate. And more importantly, in February, you took the unprecedented step of setting aside £40 million to tackle poverty, child poverty, and support services undertake actions to support early intervention and prevention, and allowing spending to take place today that would reduce costs tomorrow. However, members, the signs are that there will be no more funding in addition to what councils have already received. And as such, we will have to manage costs and demand so that our costs align to our budget, and options around service delivery will have to be reviewed with collaboration, early intervention and prevention, and prioritisation forming part of that change. As a council management team and in conjunction with the Chief Executive, we've set in motion a series of precautionary measures to ensure that the potential of projected overspend does not materialise. These are important measures and they provide time for services to reflect and set out the necessary plans to enable change to take place. These plans will take the form of recovery plans that will set out the actions recommended to support budgets and bring budgets back into line. Within the education budget, financial pressures around additional support for learning, transport costs, teacher absence cover, additional costs in relation to probationers, as well as managing the £3.5 million carry forward from last year are all impacting on this budget. The Chief Education Officer is completing the necessary recovery plan, is being supported by senior colleagues from my service, and the recovery plan will be completed within 4 weeks in line with the financial regulations. Within communities and economies, service pressures exist within Ayrshire Roads Alliance and predominantly within housing and communities with waste management experience ongoing pressures, as you know, members. However, the review of waste management services that were presented and approved at Council last week will see short-term funding of around £1.4 million being provided from the General Fund uncommitted balance for this year and next, prior to the service change taking place and with the waste management model showing surpluses taking place each year thereafter. The recovery plan for communities and economy is included within the main East Ayrshire Reforms report. Within health and social care, we see substantial challenges around care at home and learning disabilities, which saw a financial recovery plan being presented last week to the Integration Joint Board. The covering report also sets out the financial resilience indicators that you approved last year. They provide a financial health check of the council and focuses on our reserves, our capital financing, our investments and borrowing costs. They highlight a council with a strong financial performance and one that has seen an increase in the availability of its usable reserves. They show a council that is under strain like all others, but a council that has taken steps to prepare us for today. And as I said earlier, the creation of that £40 million 10-year fund to support early intervention and prevention will support the council into the future. The report also notes additional costs and service pressures being felt from higher staff absence levels and sets out the actions that are being taken to support attendance at work. Cabinet is asked today to approve the use of £600,000 from the General Fund uncommitted balance to enable the supporting attendance and wellbeing team to be created for a 3-year period through to March 2027 to support attendance at work by working with services and staff to lower staff absence levels and reduce these costs. Chair, bit of a change of an East Ayrshire Reforms report this morning. Happy to stop there and take comments on the covering report.
Thanks very much, Joe. Yes, it's dark times facing us, but as before, we're probably better placed than others to deal with this. And if we work collaboratively and collectively, we can tackle this. And as you say, this 20 million overspend will only exist if we don't take action, and we've already taken action through our recovery plans and our innovation plans, etc., and previous actions in terms of the £40 million fund for 10 years. But we do need to look at cost and demand. But ultimately, we've got to protect our communities from child poverty and protect the most vulnerable out there where we can, but keep the economy growing as well at the same time with as many interventions that are necessary. And we brace ourselves for the next UK budget, the 30th October, to see where that lands as well. So it's as well as yesterday's news, it's difficult circumstances that we face, but I think most people recognise this was coming our way, and I think we've been in a state of preparedness for this, and it's just we really must concentrate on protecting our community and our citizens where we can. Okay, members, with that, I'll open it up to any kind of questions just now. I'm sure there'll be quite a lot of questions once we go through the paper, but anything just now. Okay, Joe, if you just want to continue.
Thank you, Chair. The revenue section begins on page 14. In the standard format that you've seen in previous reports is shown here with the projection as at March is shown. I would stress that the projection is indicative at this point in time, taking account of the measures that have been put in place to manage costs and demand throughout this year. In this section, we see for education an indication that if no corrective action were taken, then the service has the potential to end the year £8.5 million overspent. And we can see here that the reduction in GA funding, the final year of the transition of the Scottish Attainment Challenge funding, as well as additional costs for additional support for learning transport, and have all added substantial pressure to the budget, as well as additional pressures in teacher cover obligations and in probationers, as noted earlier. Members, you will see the recovery plan for education in the coming weeks. However, you can see the initial actions that the Chief Education Officer has taken prior to completing the recovery plan for the service. Within communities and economy on page 15, we see a projected overspend of £1.2 million caused, as I said earlier, predominantly around Ayrshire Roads Alliance and housing and communities. But what we also see on page 16 is the significant work that heads of service and the Deputy Chief Executive have taken to bring the consolidated budgets back into line. And their recovery plan sets out a series of options which will be taken to support the budget and budget holders in the coming months. And in wellbeing, members, we have a projected overspend, again, if no correction action is taken, of around £10 million. The majority of this has been experienced within community care, older people services, and also within learning disability budgets, which are projected to overspend by around £5 million due to pressures within self-directed support, residential spend, and staffing costs. Chair, that's the main areas I would like to cover in this report, and I'm happy to pause there.
Thanks, Joe. Any comments or questions for Joe? I think this is where we need to go, and I think look for assurance that this will be widespread right through every service, Joe, that will be doing these kind of recovery plans and service plans just to realign ourselves where we need to be with reducing the impact where we can on our citizens. So just looking for that kind of assurance.
Thank you, Chair. Members, when you set the budget in February, you asked for details of the Council on initiatives that had been approved as part of the budget to be presented at various points in the year so as to provide an update to you. And this update is attached today at page 21. It shows the allocation Council gave, the projected spend at March 25, and the work that's been done to progress the will of Council as part of the budget. In respect of the temporary additional posts for the corporate enforcement team, we know that one officer has been recruited and a second is likely to be recruited later on this year. Within additional roads and pavement works and the £400,000 that Council approved, works have started. Patching works on West and East Shaw Street and Bonneton Road, Kilmarnock, have taken place and plans are made for the remainder of the year with full spend anticipated. August saw the return of young people to schools and the second year of half-price school meals. No material spend has taken place to date, and updates will be provided in future East Ayrshire performance reports, but early indications would suggest that not all of the allocation will be required in order to deliver the initiative set by Council, although we will continue to monitor the situation. Council also set clothing grants of £50 allocation to families of 3 and 4-year-olds attending our early years establishments. And as you would expect, members, this has progressed as an online self-validated form to support parents and carers get their awards quickly. In line with the policy for early years admissions, the process is to provide the grants will be open at specific points in the year in advance of the children commencing their placement. And through that online form, we know that over 170 awards have been made so far, benefiting 177 children and their families. Finally, members, the expansion of the financial inclusion team for 6 months, full spend is anticipated and this funding is now complete. And I'm pleased to say that colleagues and people in culture, supported by staff across the Council, have supported those staff who were employed within that team to find other relevant opportunities within other posts within the Council. Happy to stop there, Chair, and take questions.
Thanks, Joe. Anyone? I see your hand up. No. Okay. There's no questions. Carry on.
Thank you. We're on page 23, members, alternative delivery models. They provide details of the consolidated budgets for Ayrshire Roads Alliance and for East Ayrshire Leisure Trust. In respect of the Alliance, it shows a projected overspend of around £1.8 million. We continue to see that regular underspend within strategic delivery due to turnover in employee vacancies, and within East Ayrshire local delivery, we see variances relating to income shortfalls within roads maintenance, lower than anticipated parking income, and street lighting electricity costs. And within South Ayrshire local delivery, we see similar pressures. Within the capital section of the service, we note a series of unexpected road slips that have been experienced recently, with capital funding being redirected to stabilise these slips whilst a permanent solution is designed and implemented. These were unexpected and will place some pressure on the remaining roads capital budget. In terms of the bus station, we note that the project's works are due to be completed this month, and in respect of resurfacing, we see that the programme is progressing well, no issues identified, and over 50% of the planned works will be completed by the end of next month. And within East Ayrshire Leisure Trust on page 25, we note a small surplus is projected, and again demonstrates the significant work undertaken by the trustees and with the management team, who do appear to be bucking the trend in terms of financial management around leisure trusts and the services that lie within it. If I can, Chair, I'll move on to page 27 that sets out the resilience indicators the Council approve. They measure our availability of resources as well as details around capital financing, our investments and our borrowing costs. They show members that our usable reserves have increased in 2023-24, and the general fund uncommitted balance has been the highest it has been for many years. It shows our financing costs are within that limit that you set as Council. And it also shows that in respect of the education ratio and the social work ratio, both of which set out to show the extent to which both budgets consume a relative share of the Council's overall budget, we can see slight reductions in both, and that reflects the changes in GAE and the funding that was made available and as a result of the impact of the relative population demographic for East Ayrshire Council. And finally, within Treasury on page 29, we can see new borrowing has been taken of around £35 million at the start of the year. Debt portfolio has increased to £496 million, mostly from borrowing from the Public Works Loan Board, and that we have investments of around £50 million to support our capital programme and our overall cash flow. And you will see, Council will see shortly, the end of year Treasury Management Report, Chair, in the coming weeks. Happy to stop there before moving on to capital.
Drew.
Thanks, Chair. Page 24, one for Ayrshire Roads Alliance. Just about a quarter way down there, Coal Glen slip. No agreement reached between Legal, Scottish Power and the contractor. I was speaking to Legal just the other week there, and they were giving me progress that a legal agreement had been put in place. An agreement had put. So could Jane maybe give us a wee update on that if possible?
Yeah. Jane, you have something.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, Legal have been dealing with both the contractor and Scottish Power in efforts to reach an agreement, and we have made some movement forward with that just in the last couple of weeks. Still early days and not completely there as yet, but yes, we have made some improvements with that, and we will be hopefully getting that dealt with soon.
Thanks for that clarification, Jane. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. Just while we're on, just in terms of a couple of inquiries about the car parking, just in terms of Green Street, it's demolition due to commence. I think it's been completed, and I'm just looking for when's the site going to be completed for parking, because it looks as if it's ahead of schedule. Don't know if you can answer that today or we get an answer later. Another one, I don't know if the Brown Road car park, is that Brown Street car park? I'm just wondering if that's the one in...
Yeah, so Brown Road is Brown Street, and I'll get you an answer about Grange.
Thank you. Anyone else? No, so we'll just continue. Yeah. Simon, over to you.
Thanks. Excuse me. Thanks, Chair. Morning, members. Capital programmes continuing to face financial challenges due to high construction costs and high interest rates, and the projects are being closely monitored to ensure essential scope is aligned with affordability caps for each of those projects. As usual, I won't go through the report in great detail, but if I could provide a highlight on some of the key points for a selection of projects, starting with completed projects. The Council's first passive house project at Dunlop Early Childhood Centre was handed over on the 9th of August, and the pupils returned for the new term on the 21st of August. There was an opening ceremony yesterday there. There's approximately £25 million of construction contracts currently on site, and these include the St Sophia's Primary School Enerfit refurbishment and the Galston office and library projects, both of which started in January and are progressing well. And we also have the SHIP programme development at Kennedy Drive, Kilmarnock, which is well advanced, with the first phase of homes due to be handed over later this month. Projects at a detailed design stage include the demolition of the multi-storey car park, where a contractor's been appointed and works are due to commence next Monday. The Cultural Kilmarnock project, where a planning application has now been lodged, and the project team continue to work closely with advisors engaged by the UK Government. The contractor's also been appointed to assist with approving timescales for the programme and developing the project for market testing. And at Stuart Academy, designs for extension and refurbishment have been revised around future growth projections and essential needs, and consultation with key stakeholders is scheduled for later this month prior to lodging a planning application for that project. Projects at the earlier stage include the Ayrshire Engineering Park and Ayrshire Manufacturing Investment Corridor at Moorfield, both as part of the Ayrshire Growth Deal, where an outline planning application for the master plan has now been submitted. It's anticipated that phase 1 site infrastructure works could commence spring of next year. At the Galleon Centre, a priority scope of works and implementation programme is being developed with key stakeholders based on the design team's REVA Stage 1 proposals that were issued previously. And with the Doon Valley Community Campus, a range of surveys have been undertaken over the summer break to inform the development of more detailed proposals, which we anticipate will be prepared for late this year, early next year. So that's just a brief summary of some key points, Chair. Happy to answer any questions on these or any other projects in the report. Thanks.
Thanks, Simon. You just mentioned right at the start of your presentation about our visit yesterday to Dunlop Nursery, the passive house, and the provision for nursery education was absolutely outstanding. It's just an amazing facility, and I was joined by local members and the spokesperson, Councillor Cowan, and just what and others, and it would blow you away, and just to see the children actually in the nursery really enjoying the space, indoor and outdoor, it was just an absolute pleasure. And if you've not had a chance to go up and see it, I would thoroughly recommend that you do. Members of Councillor Linton.
Thanks, Dougie, and thanks, Simon, for the report. Just you touched briefly on the Galleon on page 34. I was greatly encouraged by the Deputy Chief Executive's comments at full council last week, where he stated that he would actually be joining the initial meeting of this working group, and I look forward to receiving feedback on how quickly we can progress in this. I'm conscious that the initial decision to push ahead with this was taken back in March, April, I think, and I'm really looking forward to this group getting set up and starting the business of getting the Galleon refurbished. Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Ian. Councillor Martin Graham.
Thanks. I've just got a few wee comments, especially stuff that's happening in Ward 4, Kilmarnock East and Hurlford. Obviously got the multi-storey car park. It's due to start demolition next Monday. I think it's key that we keep the Foregate retailers and the Burns Mall management fully up to speed. I mean, disruption is inevitable with anything done at this scale. So I think keep that line of communication open. I know, Richard, you were at the KBA and keep that. So I'm happy to see that communication channel is there. So please keep it open and keep the traders up to speed in that. I'm also happy to see the fact that investment in Willowbank School is a priority. Mrs. Smallwood, our staff and the team at the Friends of Willowbank have done an absolutely amazing job utilising the space they have got. So I look forward to the cabinet paper coming with a solution soon. And I also have to make comment on the new council houses up at Kennedy Drive. I walked my dog up past there and I've watched the progression of these houses. 48 new homes getting built there. They're absolutely stunning. To hear that people are going to be moving in there as early as September, It's amazing. It's my son's old school. So seeing the difference, I used to watch them run about at sports day. So watching new families move into that area will be fantastic. So thank you.
That's good. Yeah, I've heard quite a bit about the houses at Kennedy, up Kennedy Drive. I'm looking forward to going and seeing them, some new innovations up there. Elaine, Councillor Kim. Elaine.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to quickly supplement your comments about the visit yesterday to Dunlop Early Years. Not only was it a lovely facility, the observation of the landscaping was superior to anything I've seen in any of our other facilities so far. So some feedback to Simon and his team. I think that you've set the bar for future areas. That's the standard we'll be looking for.
Yeah, that Simon, that is quite a challenge that in itself. It's it's an absolute amazing facility. Drew, Councillor Phelps.
Thanks, Chair. Just one for Simon there. Just to thank Simon for all the good work they've been doing during the summer when the school's been closed at Doon Academy. Just wondering if there's anything been flagged up, any major problems, especially with the asbestos side of things.
Yeah, thanks through you, Chair. We're just compiling all that survey information just now. It's all just recently been completed, so some of these reports are still to come to us. Obviously, we're all aware there's the asbestos issue at Doon, and that's formed part of these surveys as well. So it's all being analysed just now, but just a wee bit too early to kind of give a summary of what that all means.
Thanks, I look forward to that, and just keep the communications going with the public as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Drew. Okay, anyone else? Jim?
Okay. Simon, I don't know whether it be yourself, but probably a part to play in it, but I'm looking for a wee update on the core and where it's currently sitting and progressing.
Thanks through you, Chair. I was going to cover this in my own service improvement update, but I'll just give that update now. Excuse me. So over the last year, there's been a whole range of different programmes put in place to develop the demonstrator projects and pathway projects to allow us to come forward. We've been working with colleagues in housing and ARA to develop kind of key projects that will be easily delivered once we secure the funding. With a change management process going through with the UK and Scottish Government presently, that's a position where we would look to split the funding. As members will probably recall that we got the funding in blocks. So the ideal position is that you deliver all your final business case at once. So we felt that we couldn't do that. We want to use the same kind of programme as we're doing at Moorfield, with splitting the money into different phases. So the idea is that we would look to achieve phased approach for core as well. We've obviously, in terms of the skills facility, we've been working with partners through the STEM projects. We've been working with University of West of Scotland and Ayrshire College, all supportive of delivering a facility at the site in Knockroon. Obviously, the challenges that we're facing is to make sure that before we bring a paper to Cabinet, that we can deliver a project that is sustainable in the long term. So that's where we're working with the financial model, and we're working with colleagues in finance to take that forward. It is anticipated that we will be coming back with an update report to Cabinet over the next couple of months, and just to set out where we are with that, and just to highlight how we want to take forward the split of funding so that we can actually start to deliver the pathway projects on the ground, and then that way we'll start to see some traction being delivered, because I appreciate that there's been a lot of work carried out behind the scenes, but it's not been delivered up front.
Thanks. Maybe just the other thing to say, just to finish off in terms of the multi-storey car park, myself and Councillor Boyd attended a briefing on that yesterday, and I know that yourself, Councillor Barton, you were at a committee, and I think Councillor Ingram was the same, and I don't know, I think possibly, I don't know if other members missed it as well, but just to give you a bit of reassurance, we've got some information from the contractor, and we'll make sure that's available to all the members. And Simon, just I think we're looking for regular meetings and just some kind of, I think, some reassurance about helping the other shopkeepers in in the foregate to make sure that their business is disrupted as little as possible. There will be some disruption, but we're trying to mitigate it where we can. Simon?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. As we mentioned at the meeting yesterday, there's already been a meeting with the contractor and ourselves and the local traders. That was about a couple of weeks ago in Chambers here. And the contractor provided a lot of reassurance and answers to some of the questions and concerns that the traders had. It was quite widely attended, and I felt that it went very well. And as I say, they were reassured around about some of their concerns. So yeah, we'll keep that dialogue ongoing, and the contractor's committed to having a close dialogue with the traders. He's going to provide contact details through a letter drop, so that if they've got any concerns or questions as the project's progressing, they can contact them directly. But we'll keep local members updated as things progress as well.
Okay, there'll be some changes that come on at Townscape when that comes in. Okay, members, any other questions? No, over to people. Is it Donna?
Yes, thanks. So the people pages within the summary report start on page 35, with the stats for absence being on page 36. For this period, there were 1,765 employees absent, which was an increase of 101 employees compared to the same period last year, which was 1,664. There were also more working days lost, 22,171 days, an increase of 3,394 compared to 1,877 for the same period last year. This has resulted in a rise of 0.6 working days lost per employee. So the top 5 reasons for absence are detailed in the graph on page 36. The first 2 are the same for 23-24 and 24-25, which is stress, personal and musculoskeletal. The 3rd and 4th places swap round from operations recovery, stomach abdominal to stomach abdominal operations recovery for 24-25. And the 5th top reason is now stress work related, where historically it was respiratory. For short-term absence, the total working days lost is 17,958 and 3.11 working days lost per employee compared to the same period last year. The total working days lost, 15,397.14 and 2.66 work days lost per employee. For long-term absence, the total work days loss is 4212.49 or 0.74 working days lost per employee. And compared to the same period last year, it had the total work days lost of 3379.86, an increase of 832.63 or 0.5 working days lost per employee. On page 37, the occupational health activity details that there were 383 occupational health appointments, an increase of 147 from the same period last year. There were 103 early interventions, an increase of 42 from the same period last year, and 82 physiotherapy appointments took place. This was an increase of 22 from the same period last year. For noting, members, the current occupational health contract came to an end on the 11th of August 2024, and following a retender exercise, the new provider is PAM OH Solutions. This is a pan-Ayrshire contract with North and South Ayrshire, and East Ayrshire is the lead authority. So there will be a transition process in the coming weeks as we introduce the new online system, and new procedures will be rolled out, as well as transferring all of the medical records from Optima Health to PAM OH. Communications will be issued throughout the process to managers and employees, and we are working with both providers to make the process as smooth as possible for everyone. Following a report to CMT on the 17th of July 24, detailing further proposals on how to address absence, We're now pursuing additional capacity for targeted resources to address absence levels and combine support and attendance at work and wellbeing support to employees. And this was touched on by Jo earlier. Noting that this is a spend to save initiative to reduce sickness, absence and services across the council. And we're also extending the remit of the absence independent review panel, with an update being reported back to Cabinet later in the year. In terms of the disciplinary activity at the bottom of page 37, there was one verbal warning, one written warning, 2 final warnings, and one with no formal disciplinary action taken. And there are 4 which are still under consideration. On page 38, the information on grievance activity at the top of the page details that 1 grievance was concluded at stage 2, and there are 2 ongoing cases. The whistleblowing case received further allegations which were added and investigated and were being reviewed by the senior manager. On page 38, members should note that headcount across the council since this time last year has decreased by 71 people, which is 1%, and from the previous quarter has decreased by 63 people, or 0.9%. The biggest decrease was in temporary employees within education, which is expected at this time of the year. On page 39, developing a younger workforce, members may wish to note that while there has been a decrease in the number of apprentices by 17 compared to the previous quarter, this was due to 2 training agreements coming to an end, 14 young people who have gained posts within East Ayrshire Council and 1 gaining a post externally. Also on page 39, members will see a breakdown of the Jobs and Training Fund, and as at the 30th of June 24, the council have 87 young people in post, and although the numbers have decreased by 13, this is due to these individuals gaining posts within or out with the council or moving on to other destinations. It should be highlighted that in the last quarter, 82% of our leavers from training programmes have been successful in gaining employment. Recruitment processes for the final year of the current Jobs and Training Fund have commenced and will be ongoing over the coming months. The recruitment update is detailed at the bottom of page 39 and notes the hard-to-fill vacancies still continue to be within the Health and Social Care Partnership in particular. For all admin and clerical posts across all council services, modern apprentices are being encouraged to apply as appropriate. On page 40, details are provided on the number of employees leaving the council within the period. This was a total of 122, an increase of 2 from the last quarter, broken down as follows: 41 people retired, 75 resigned, and 6 left for other reasons, and these were all dismissals due to ill health. In terms of the payroll activity, this is noted at page 40 in the summary report. The number of terminations has decreased by 636 compared to the same period last year. Members should note that pays processed in the period was 23,552, and the number of cars leased is currently 526 compared to 380 in the same period last year, which is an increase of 146 cars. Communications overview is detailed on page 41 and highlights inquiries, activity and campaigns, noting the team were involved in a number of key events, including the Employee Awards, the Climate Change Awards and the general election. Work continues with excellent progress for our website accessibility, with East Ayrshire Council achieving 2nd place in Scotland and 29th place in the UK at the end of June. Organisational development key performance areas are detailed on page 41 and 42 and provides members with details on the online induction module, leadership programmes, mentoring framework and FaceTime engagement, excluding teaching staff. It should be noted that 100% of new starts have completed their welcome induction within the first 3 months of starting their employment with the council. Members will also note that the number of FaceTime engagement is 49%. As these are carried out across the council at different times of the year, it will never be at 100%. The People and Culture Organisational Development Manager has meetings scheduled with the Chief Executive, Deputy Chief Execs and all heads of service, where this is routinely discussed to improve and agree appropriate actions across services to ensure maximum completion within required timescales and to highlight any areas of concern. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Donna. Very good and interesting report. Just still, I think it must cause a bit of alarm across the board, but I don't think we'll be unusual in this. But in terms of work-related, personal stress and work-related stress, it seems to be growing exponentially. I think maybe COVID masked that to some degree, but it's grown. What are we doing to, identify the root causes of problems? And I know there's a suite of measures that we'll probably be doing to address it. Just how are we going to measure that, and how are we going to tackle, that issue?
Some of the work that's currently ongoing in relation to the regular meetings that take place with heads of service and chief exec is very focused on stress and how we tackle it. We're also, as part of the new team that's been set up, we'll be looking at what other measures we can identify and also more closely monitor what's happening, and then put in hopefully packages of support for people at an earlier stage. So early intervention is a key area of the work that we need to do over the next year.
Can I bring in Eddie? Thanks.
Thanks, Leader. We had collective bargaining, with our trade union colleagues earlier in the week, and this was certainly an area of discussion that we had with them. And, also looking at, obviously, there are issues that are people's personal circumstances, but how work can also stress and compound that too. And we give a commitment to actually look at when people are feeling, like stressed, to listen to people and be closer with people. And indeed, in some of the innovation funds that you'll see coming forward in the next paper, you'll see some of that designed to address, like some of the feelings that are there within the workforce around that. Their comments were, it was interesting around absence and how that you get into that negative spiral of absence, that if people are off, other people need to cover for them, they then get stressed around that, and it goes into a spiral. And when then you don't have any resilience at home or any issue at home, then that, can compound there. Okay.
Well, that's a challenging issue for us, in the months and years ahead, absolutely. But I think early intervention is absolutely key. Okay, Councillor McFadden, John.
Yeah, thank you. I wondered if we'd sort of done any research into the 4-day week, the situation, because I heard from someone else that, their company had introduced the 4-day week, and that absences for stress particularly had decreased because people weren't getting so stressed working a 4-day week to 5-day week, and actually their company was benefiting, from much fewer absences because of the introduction of the 4-day week, even though that itself, has issues and organisational issues. But wondered if we'd done any research into that or looked into that at all. Thank you.
Donna?
It has been talked about a number of times, looking at the 4-day week. It's not something that we are currently looking at, but I know that at a national level, trade unions have been having some discussion about how it would work, and I think that there is a kind of working party nationally looking at it.
Bring in Chief Executive. Thanks, John. Bring in the Chief Executive here as well.
again, just remembering, like members, that there are always obviously a suite of different, arrangements that folk can, apply for in terms of working with us. The particular discussion around 4-day week at times is whether people get the same money for working 4 days instead of 5 days. When you're in an organisation where we're face to face with the public all the time, whether that be within our schools or within our social care services, or actually out collecting refuse, that's actually very challenging for us in terms of doing that. There are some jobs that you can do, maybe my job, for instance, where you could actually compound that and actually you could work from home and do different things. But the vast majority of our employees are actually front-facing employees, and that actually gives us a significant challenge in terms of how we model some of this. But there are, again, lots of options of how our employees can actually work differently in terms of doing that.
Thanks, Eddie. Anyone else? Okay, next bit is, who's on that? Health and Safety, David.
Thanks, Chair, and good morning, members. If I could just begin by drawing members' attention to the top of page 44 of the summary report. We noted that there were 798 non-reportable incidents that have come through to the Health and Safety team. That represents an increase of 137 in comparison to the same period last year, while incidents that have to be reported to HSE increased by 3. Normally around this point, Chair, I would be saying that the increase is mainly due to violence and aggression, but in this particular report, the increase is more of a spread across the board. Well, there has been an increase in violence aggression. It's been more modest at 39 incidents, but the real increase in that 137 has come across areas like slips, trips and falls, playground and horseplay and such like. So a more broader spread this time around. Number of days to report incidents to health and safety sections reduced from 3.3 days to 2.5 days, and in line with previous reports. This is well within the 5-day target that we've set. And in order to ensure robust safety compliance across the Council's higher risk activities, there have been a total of 1,517 unannounced inspections carried out over the reporting period. An outcome of these inspections and actions taken to address any deficiencies that are identified during the inspections are reported to appropriate senior management teams on a monthly basis. Further information and further action is required, Chair. That concludes the safety report, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thanks, David. Any questions for David, the health and safety report? No. Oh, Drew.
Just a wee congratulations to David and his team for all the good work again at Lochdoon this year. 250 school children attended. It had its challenges, but I think we've learnt a wee bit there for next year. But well done to David and his team. It's really a skill that children will take with them the rest of their life. Cheers.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, David. Okay. Nobody else? Okay, we're on to Joe business briefing, etc.
Members, we're on page 47, and the business briefing set out contain a number of indicators the heads of service would wish to bring to your attention. In respect of benefits processing and the number of days to process a new benefits claim, you see that the outcome is well within target. But members, the impact of welfare reform, and in particular the move from legacy benefits to universal credit, referred to as managed migration, has begun within East Ayrshire and will continue throughout this year. It will see substantial changes as those individuals who receive legacy benefits and housing benefit from the council will see housing benefit now being included as part of the universal credit claim, meaning that over time benefits processing within the council, and indeed within local government generally, will only be processed for pensioners. And given the significance of this change, I'll bring further details on the implications of managed migrations to members in due course, so that they're aware that the move is taking place. Within communities and economy, a significant number of indicators for your review are on the page. It contains, and in terms of the average number of days to relet properties, we can see some challenges across the council areas, but note the work that colleagues are doing to bring this back into line generally. And within the percentage of factor block inspections carried out and the number of general bridge inspections, these have been impacted by recruitment issues, although I would note that recruitment to these posts is taking place and those likely conclude in the coming weeks. Chair, with your approval, complaints begin on page 54. Total of 30 complaints were received, with 7 carried forward from Q4 of last year 28 of these were closed with full response given. 9 remain open and will carry forward into Q2 East Ayrshire reforms. Within those 28 complaints, 17 were dealt with at stage 1, 7 at stage 2, and 4 were escalated. The improvement actions noted from those 28 complaints have been progressed by colleagues within a range of services, including Ayrshire Roads Alliance, Finance and ICT, Education and Housing and Communities. The time taken to respond to those complaints at stage 1, stage 2 and escalated were lower for this period than comparative periods last year. And if I can, Chair, with your approval, move on to risks. They are on page 57, presented in a new format for information containing a new 5-box square risk matrix grid to support your challenge and review. For this East Ayrshire Reforms Report, no new risks have been added, nor have any risk categories been changed. And Chair, I would refer Cabinet to page 3 of the East Ayrshire Reforms Report and to the recommendations that are contained within paragraph 3. Thank you.
Thanks. Graham,
Right. I was just going to go back to the business briefing. We've got a wee question on that. It's like how Universal Credit's response for £500,000 or almost 25% East Ayrshire Council tenant arrears. The fact that Universal Credit's paid in arrears, I mean, it's locking people into a spiral of debt and putting that financial burden onto local authorities. What can we do as a council to try and combat this? Because it's unsustainable, and as the transfer over to Universal Credit continues, the burden's only going to get larger. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks. No, you're absolutely right. It's only going to continue. If you can maybe bring in Blair first of all.
Through you, Chair. Yeah, indeed, Councillor Barton, the delay in which it takes to receive a universal credit claim has a direct impact on rent arrears for people that we are supporting during that transitional period. We clearly have a good resource round about our universal credit team, and they've been very successful in their implementation of supporting people through that journey. Our approach is always about support and coordination with those individuals that may fall into arrears. And we've got a really strong approach to supporting people during that period of which they may find themselves in arrears. And we offer very reasonable, affordable repayment plans for those that may be in debt. Thank you.
Thanks, Blair. And we'll certainly keep an eye on that as it progresses. Ian.
Thanks, Dougie. Just on the recommendations, I think earlier in the discussion you raised a really important point about a council-wide reviews, and I think while I welcome the individual additional reviews that are in the recommendations, I think it would be really useful if Joe could bring a consolidated report back to Cabinet in the future covering all council activities. I think that would draw everything together and give us a really good oversight of just exactly what's going on. So, with your permission, I would like to raise that as an amendment to the recommendations.
Thanks, Ian. No, that seems kind of common sense. We want to look everywhere, and I think we want to add something into recommendations about a whole council recovery plan. If we could add that to, so we're absolutely thorough and let no stone remain unturned. Eddie.
Thanks, Leader and Councillor Linton. So already, I had brought together all the, if I can call them, Tier 4 managers within the council, so the folk that report directly to heads of service, and that includes all our head teachers. So we met all them, last week for a discussion about how things cut across the whole council and their impacts across the whole council in terms of how we go forward together. So in the paper, clearly at recommendations 3, 4 and 5, we detail, the recovery plans individually in terms of communities and economy, education and the IGB. But I think it's perfectly appropriate what yourself and Councillor Linton is saying, that there should be a council recovery plan that consolidates and works across all of that, and we'd be happy to bring that back.
That would be helpful. Anyone? Any other comments? Jim?
Yeah. Blair, it's probably for yourself. It's about the void rent loss and the real time. I think some of that could be intrinsically linked. I think as some of the properties we get back now are becoming more and more difficult to relet in that short time because of the condition. Maybe a wee bit of explanation run about and how they are linked.
Through you, Chair. Yeah, I agree, Councillor McMacken. What we have seen post-pandemic is a huge challenge in the condition of properties we get when they're returned to us as void properties. This is an issue that's been discussed as part of the Electro Group. It's a national issue that we're experiencing conditions of properties in significantly bad condition, which then means that we have to do significant work in the properties, which clearly all takes time before they're available for relet. So as a service, what we've brought in is through our neighbourhood coaches is that we'll be conducting visits on an annual basis to get in behind more doors than we ever have, to be ensuring that we're looking after the people that live in our homes and indeed looking to protect the assets that we have, which is our homes, with a view to minimising the impacts that the conditions that people are living within, and indeed which would help us return properties quicker for those people that need it at a much earlier point. Our performance at 69.7 days, I think it is below the Scottish average, but it isn't that we don't rest on our laurels in that respect, and that we will be continuing to push forward, looking at all the ways in which we can return properties quicker, which may at times include the use of external providers to deliver programmes such as kitchens and bathrooms and other areas of our work, but also recognising that the work that we do when properties are void, with a view to the future, if we have a property that comes in that is due to imminently or within the next 12 or 24 months get significant upgrade works, we would take the opportunity at the time it's void to do those works. So when someone moves into the home, they're not then being disrupted in their home in a very short period of living there. So that also impacts on our void rent loss as well. But for me, in terms of strategic planning, it's absolutely the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Liam. Just picking up on what you said there, is looking at basically a kind of annual inspection, having a look at that and tying in with other services where there may be a need or an indicator that we might need again before that annual inspection.
Through you, Chair, we're getting in with our eyes wide open, connecting to all of our partners who will help us support people that are living in their tenancies.
I mean, you're no particular just now, but is there any kind of broad reasons for that? I mean, is it people have been unable to heat their homes, or just different attitudes, or what's the main kind of reasons behind it? Do we know?
Through you, Chair, a lot of what we see is through poverty and or addiction are the main factors that we experience from challenges with the people that live in our homes. Therefore, we're looking to redouble our efforts to support those people in our communities.
Okay, thanks. That's helpful. Okay, Joe, I think that's the East Ayrshire performance. As we said right at the beginning, big challenges there for us, but hopefully working together collaboratively and collectively, and we'll rise to the challenges that are in front of us. Members, we've got a series of recommendations there, including one about additional one in terms of the whole council recovery plan that Joe's going to undertake. Can we agree with those recommendations? Okay, the next item is the Strategic Plan Innovation Fund. Joe again.
Thank you, Chair. Members, this report seeks approval to make allocations from our Innovation Fund, and it builds on some of the comments I made in the previous report around supporting change and innovation. As you know, the fund was set up a few years ago with a balance of £3 million, with applications made direct to the Chief Executive for consideration, review, challenge and subsequent approval by yourselves. The report today contains 5 initiatives aimed at changing to services that will result in efficiencies and lower costs in future years. The first relates to a collaborative approach to reading support in schools. It's within education, and the application is for a draw of £178,000 to take forward the reading support to benefit young people, other learners and the wider community. It builds on the work of the Scottish Attainment Challenge and the Strategic Equity Fund, with collaboration taking place within the Education Service and a local company in order to deploy the digital resource. Paragraphs 11 through to 15 provide background, and the approval today is for the £178,000 to be allocated from the Finance and ICT in-year underspend rather than the Innovation Fund to support this initiative. Paragraph 17 provides details of technology-enabled healthcare. This is a substantial piece of work spanning across several services and the Digital Management Board. Been progressed by the service, again with the support of the board. that seeks to build on initial pilot work that's been undertaken to progress and develop technology-enabled care. It recognises the growing demand for services, as noted in the earlier report, and how technology-enabled care can be used to both complement and, in some places, replace traditional care. The proposal itself is for £898,000 to be approved today, subject to further detailed scoping work being undertaken by the service and reviewed by myself. The initiative itself is timely given the cost pressures that exist within community care and the service demands that also exist within that service, and is a clear example of innovation and early intervention and prevention. Paragraph 25 leads with a proposal to support the care at home staff management system. The paragraphs that follow show firsthand the incredible staff that are deployed across the length and breadth of East Ayrshire, providing care at home to our residents. It notes the existing contract that's in place and the benefits that can flow from a replacement system, including supporting staff wellbeing, reducing absence costs, as well as those other benefits that are listed at paragraphs 38 to 40. The proposal today is for Cabinet to allocate £1.514 million from the fund. The fund is anticipated to create significant savings in excess of £3 million for the service in future years. Paragraph 42 contains a proposal for a cashless catering system and the recommendation for approval of £106,000 to be paid back to the Innovation Fund over a 3-year period. The system itself would replace the cashless catering system, which will provide both ease of use and flexibility in pre-ordering through school apps and will align to the digital strategy, and again is supported by the Digital Management Board. The final proposal is at paragraph 47 and is using digital and robotics in terms of supporting the cleaning of premises and the investment of 2 robotic cleaners to be trialled at the Barony campus and the William McIlvanney campus, costing approximately £186,000, with again payback in around 3 years' time. Again, this proposal is supported by the digital strategy. And the recommendations for Cabinet today is to approve the allocations from the fund. The proposals align with our aim to support services to change and to innovate and to lower future costs. These initiatives, together with earlier approvals, leave £172,000 remaining in the fund. And members, with your approval, I'll look to add further balances to the fund as part of the annual balances review that's due to take place after the conclusion of the external audit, so as to allow options to be brought forward as part of that report to Cabinet, and at all times seeking to maximise the fund so that we can obtain the best possible options to support change, innovation and early intervention and prevention. The recommendation today, Chair, are on page 70 at paragraph 2.
Thanks very much, Joe. I think that's one of the things we asked for is innovation, just in the previous report, and in terms of how we do our business, and I think we've got some examples here. I think we'll be looking with interest to see how they work. I'll not so much any more than that at this stage. Members, any comments, questions? Okay, can we agree the paper? Okay, next items.
Hello.
Oh,
sorry, I had
Maureen.
my hand up. Apologies for that.
No, carry on.
Question for the Chief Exec. I'm glad that we have stimulated the need for innovation and innovative thinking and ways of doing things differently. I'm sure that's actually the impact of the previous paper and reality beginning to sink for people. I would make one comment, Chief Exec, and I'll be very interested in your response to this. When you set up this fund, this was to be a self-perpetuating fund, in that funding given for innovation and effectively spend to save measures would ensure that this fund would be topped up. But I do see that we have in front of us 5, which is considerably better than the previous total of 2 proposals that we had at that stage, but that one of them is being paid by underspend within the digital budget from our finance director at 178,000. The other two, which are considerably more, just under £1 million, and then one at £1.5 million. There is no requirement to actually generate savings for those and pay that investment from the fund back into the fund, which would indicate that there would be the potential there for depletion of that fund over time. And I know that that wasn't what the original expectation was when the fund was set up. So I'll be very interested to hear comments from our Chief Executive on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thanks, Councillor Mackay. You're absolutely right. And as Joe said, you know, we need to look at how we make sure there are resources available for innovation. It's something that in this role and previous roles I've always had, you know, like money aside for that to encourage, you know, like people to look at things differently. Although there's no direct payback to the fund, that's simply because although the financial benefits that are coming out of these initiatives are actually going to mitigate significant overspends in some of our services. So if we look at some of the work around the proposals for education, you know, we reckon that should reduce some of the additional costs in terms of one-to-one classroom support that may be required there. If we look at the health and social care partnership, you know, we've seen in the previous papers, you know, sitting at almost a £10 million overspend. So using technology-enabled care and, you know, in terms of how we use our available resources is about mitigating, you know, like the costs. And as I say, we've indicated and we will measure, you know, like that we see that the costs are coming down. So we want to see the investment driving, you know, like savings for us, but the reality of that saving is going against an overspend just now rather than going against a flat baseline where we're actually able to take money out the budget. We will absolutely monitor these, every one of them, and I have to say that includes the previous paper when we spoke about investing in, you know, like a team to support absence. Everybody's clear here. This is if things are not working, we're going to stop. You know, like, so we're going to work at things and see if you know, it makes a benefit for us. If it doesn't make a benefit for us, I think they call it fail quick. You know, like, so we'll stop things and we'll move on to, you know, like, do something that actually does make an impact. There's some of the ones here that actually do cut across. So when we talk about the home digital, care at home digital transformation, yes, it's about making a saving. It's very much also about well-being of the workforce. I have to say, you know, just now in terms of rotas, etc., things are happening because of absence, because of demand on the services, changes happening at very late stage and people not having surety around their workload. And this will help us in terms of that. So it does have financial benefits. Unfortunately for us right now, the financial benefits are going against overspends rather than being able to be returned directly to the fund.
Okay, thanks, Eddie. Okay, happy with that, Maureen? Yeah, you want to come back in?
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you, Chief Exec. I am very happy and confident with your answer that this is something that is going to be monitored and that you have staff very clear in terms of what our position is. So thank you for that.
Sorry. Anyone else? Okay, can we go to recommendations on page 70? Can we agree to the recommendations? Okay. Now go to the next item, which is proposed formal public consultation to seek views on the potential permanent relocation of the senior phase of pupils at Park School to accommodation in St Joseph's Academy. Who's going to lead that one?
Leader through you,
Linda.
that'll be Ian Burgoyne this morning.
Right. London.
Thanks, Chair. The report seeks Cabinet approval to begin a formal consultation on relocating S4 to S6 pupils from Park School at St Joseph's Academy on a permanent basis. It's recommended that Cabinet agree the following recommendations: the content of the proposal document attached to the report, the commencement of the formal statutory consultation process, the continuation of current temporary arrangements for senior phase pupils of Park School at St Joseph's Academy until the end of the 24-25 academic year, to remit to the Chief Education Officer to make arrangements to undertake a public consultation on the proposals in line with legislative requirements, to remit to the Chief Education Officer to gather and analyse comments and feedback obtained during the consultation period and prepare a consultation report to be submitted to a future Cabinet and to otherwise note the contents of the report. The background to the report is outlined in paragraphs 3 to 16. Paragraph 4 refers to the increased demand for specialist placements across all stages, and paragraph 7 shows the impact on the part school role that this has had. Paragraphs 8 to 12 contrast the respective current capacities of Grange Campus and St Joseph's Academy. And from paragraph 10, the pilot programme, which ran in session 23-24, where senior phase pupils from Park School were temporarily relocated at St Joseph's Academy is discussed. From paragraph 17, feedback from a survey which looked to collate the views of stakeholders on that pilot is discussed. And in paragraph 20 states that recognising the mostly positive views of these stakeholders provides impetus for commencing a statutory consultation on whether the pilot arrangements should be made permanent. From paragraph 21, the timeline of the consultation is outlined, and from paragraph 23, we identify implications for policy, strategic planning, governance, human resources, equality and Fairer Scotland duty, and in paragraph 32, the risk that if consideration is not given to a possible relocation, there may be an impact on curricular choice for senior phase learners at Park School. The proposal document attached to the paper sets out formal arrangements and a timeline for the proposed consultation in terms of and having regard to the Schools Consultation Scotland Act 2010 as amended, and includes within the education benefits section statements from both head teachers. Happy to take any questions on the reports.
Thanks, Ian. Members, any questions or any comments? Elaine?
No real questions from me, Leader, but I do have some comments. We've all previously spoken of the increasing trends in ASN, and we're all acutely aware of the challenges that this growing volume of learners places on our teaching staff and the demands it plays on our facilities. What's clear to me from this report is that that's been at the forefront of the change, has been the determination to achieve the best outcome for our young people. Linda and Ian have set a clear vision for the task, and the staff teams at Park School, St Joseph's and the Grange Academy have been focused on delivering that objective. If anyone is seeking reassurance on education staff commitment to this, then I'd strongly recommend you take a moment to look at the comments with the excellent uplifting contributions that are provided in paragraphs 17 and 18 on page 97 from the head teachers at Park School and St Joseph's. Ian's report and professional advice today presents us with the summary of the advantage of combining the best teaching practices of Park School with the enhanced space and available resources at St Joseph's campus. And it also highlights learnings from the pilot exercise, such things as the transport arrangements. We've been asked today to look at approval to move to formal consultation, and I'm also really encouraged to see that there's a dedicated specific activity related to young people's voice being heard in that process, and also the public meetings will have a video conference option that obviously makes it more easy for people that parents and carers are struggling with things like transport arrangements or their own childcare. So I think that's excellent that option's available. So really I would just hope that elected members will support all the recommendations on page 81.
Thanks very much, Elaine. Yeah, I think we'd agree with your comments there, absolutely. Anyone else? Comments or questions? No, if there's no comments or questions, can we go straight to recommendations? Can we agree the recommendations that's laid down there? Paragraph 2.
Agreed.
Oh, agreed. Okay, right.
Agreed.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Okay, that concludes that, and I believe, does that conclude the E items as well? So on now to page 5, which is service improvement plans.
Blair, could you say Councillor Barton?
Of course. We give Councillor Barton a couple of minutes to get in and education. Yeah. Yeah, just remind the E reps, education reps, if they want to leave, can do so now. And we welcome back Councillor Barton. Okay, on to item 5 then, that's the service improvement plans. And in tough.
Morning, thanks, Chair, morning members. Just some quick introductory remarks from myself before handing over to heads of service to introduce their own service improvement plans. So plans, of course, are an essential element of the Council's strategic framework and our arrangements for performance management. They set out the key issues for delivering services in support of the community plan vision and priorities, and the commitments set out in the Council's 2022-2027 strategic plan. They also provide a focus on performance improvement aligned to the local outcome improvement plan and describe the service-specific risks that may impact on delivery of service. So, Chair, we have 3 service improvement plans today. These are coming in tranches and batches to Cabinet for consideration. The first 3 are aligned to the Deputy Chief Executive's portfolio, so of economic growth, facilities, property management, housing and communities. And the next batch, which will come to Cabinet on the 18th of September, will be the Chief Executive's portfolio of services. So with those introductory remarks, probably pass on to David to introduce the economic growth before Andrew and then Blair pick up on their respective service plans as well. Chair, thanks. Over to David.
Thanks, and through you, Chair. As Head of Economic Growth, I'm delighted to introduce our new service improvement plan. This plan describes how our team will work towards the delivery of our key strategic objectives as articulated in the Council's strategic plan, the Regional Economic Strategy and in the East Ayrshire Community Plan. The Economic Growth Service delivers a wide range of important services to businesses and individuals across East Ayrshire. In doing so, our goal is to create an inclusive, sustainable and thriving economy where people want to live and work and where employers want to invest. The need for these services is greater than ever and has been underscored by continuing economic challenges and the cost of living and the cost of doing business, which shows no signs of abating. The services we provide include support to new and existing businesses via council and business gateway programmes and support to individuals via the employability service to assist them move into sustainable employment. We also provide strategic projects being delivered regionally via the Ayrshire Growth Deal and the Regional Economic Strategy. And during the last year, we have developed and implemented the Regional Economic Strategy and the Regional Visitor Economy Strategy. This year, we continue to deliver these strategic action plans to deliver sector delivery plans in skills, clean growth, digital engineering, visitor economy and food and drink. As part of our workforce strategy, we continue to grow and develop our workforce, having invested in our teams. Our growth is assisted by our own grow our own policy, and we continue to be successful in that area. Our core budget for economic growth is 2.4 million, and we continue to manage the external employability and regeneration investment funds to support economic growth delivery. As a service, an additional saving of 725,000 has been made due to ongoing pressures on the Council's budget. As lead authority for the Ayrshire Growth Deal, the PMO is now at full staff complement and is managing and coordinating business across the region and supporting our own development of the business cases for these Ayrshire Growth Deal projects. As members are aware, we deliver the Ayrshire Growth Deal revenue projects for community wealth building, working for a healthier economy, fair work and the Ayrshire Skills Investment Fund, and of which we've been successfully delivered over the last year with the ambition to increase capacity over this financial year. For East Ayrshire's Ayrshire Growth Deal projects, the decision to move AMIC to align with the Ayrshire Engineering Park has been successful, and we're progressing towards achieving planning consent for the Moorfield site this year, with infrastructure, as you heard earlier, commencing in spring 2025. For this site and others in East Ayrshire, we're working with a number of inward investors and have partnered with SSE and Vodafone as 5G delivery partners, with SSE as our energy partner at Moorfield to increase our opportunities to maximise funding. As members are aware, last year as a region we secured 5G innovation funding and are currently in the final stages to assess the business bids to ensure that we can implement these over the next quarter. I mentioned previously under Councillor McMahon's update on the core project, and as I mentioned earlier, the update reports will be provided for the Cabinet in each of the Ayrshire Road Deal projects in the forthcoming months. Supporting both individuals to develop their skills through the employability pipeline and assist businesses to have a skilled staff to meet their gaps. We have made significant changes to procurement process of the employability framework to ensure that our council employability services have the requisite employability partners to support individuals and have the requisite support to ensure there are no gaps in service delivery. As members will be aware that the Scottish Government has been undertaking an employability review as well as a council's own review, and the employability strategic plan is due for publication Friday 13th. And from that, we would anticipate bringing a cabinet paper to members to set out how we're developing this programme. Our teams are also working with an NCC group who are providing £120,000 funding to support the service to deliver a bespoke apprenticeship pilot with Emergency One, which will see 20 apprenticeships being achieved over 2 years. As external funding increases, this pilot will be extended, and as a service, we are developing plans to extend this programme across East Ayrshire. On page 123, the Business Support and Employability infograph highlights the key support delivered to businesses and individuals over the last year, and case studies are also accessed through the QR code, which can be viewed at your leisure. Our Development Planning and Regeneration team delivers statutory planning function. As we're aware, the East Ayrshire Local Development Plan 2 was adopted in April. This adoption of the plan and all the supplementary and statutory guidance that goes along with this has been a mammoth task for the team, and this has been to their credit that we've delivered it within the short statutory timescales. We continue with regeneration activity in key areas such as the Caulfield Community Landscape Partnership and projects delivered through external funding. As we embark on the new 3-year service plan, I believe that our service is well placed to progress on strategic ambitions. However, we have a number of economic challenges, and the UK Government's autumn statement update on the funding for the Shared Prosperity Fund will set out how we deliver the service both locally and at a regional level from April 2025 onwards. Chair, happy to answer any questions on our service improvement plan. Thanks.
Thanks, David. Do you have any questions or comments? Okay. You're getting off easily this time, but a lot of challenges that we were well aware of in the months and year ahead. Okay. Andrew, you're next.
Thank you, Chair. I'm grateful to have the opportunity once again to set out the Facilities and Property Management Service Improvement Plan. As members will be aware and is set out in the report, Facilities and Property Management covers a diverse range of operational and professional services, from school meals, cleaning, school crossing, through to our capital programme and our estates teams. Facilitating and supporting other services in our communities and the practical day-to-day functions, providing integrated delivery models with local businesses, partners and our own local people. As already been outlined, we have experienced another really challenging year. Inflation pressures and market conditions, especially in construction, energy and food costs, have had a disproportionate pressure on the service. We continue to adapt to new legislation, changing policies and other external factors, while local service needs, well-being, absence and budget continues to put further pressures on staff. But the Facilities and Property Management team have continued to rise to the challenge. Over the year, we've provided over 2.4 million meals, managed £50 million worth of capital spend, undertaken over 3,000 repairs and secured over £1 million of external climate change investment for our communities. The service achieved Gold Investors in People accreditation in 2023 and once again demonstrated excellence through external recognition. I hope members can see from the report the complexity of the service and the progress being made, but we all recognise the need for change continues. Therefore, the action plan for the next 3 years focuses on the areas that continue to deliver the strategic plan drive innovation while ensuring we meet our financial obligations. I would just want to cover a number of areas in relation to the action plans. I think one of the key themes within those is our future service delivery, digital and employee development. We've got a fantastic facility in the central production unit, and we'll look to kind of continue to maximise the use of that facility. As we've already heard this morning, in terms of the Innovation Fund, we have a number of information management systems that we're looking to upgrade and develop to drive forward the service and really maximise the use of a whole range of data that we have across the service. We are also looking at how we allocate our resources, and obviously the innovation will be part of that process. But organisational structures, service standards and leadership continue to be areas that we need to look at and review. School meals have obviously had another successful year, and we look towards developing a Good Food Nation plan. Poverty in community food has been a real challenge over the last 5 years, and again we continue to undertake work to try and sort of develop a sustainable approach to that. This year we've introduced a food van to support the larders, and through some really good work through the team in terms of community benefits, we've managed to maximise a whole range of items that are able to support households through from air fryers to food starter packs, and these are all going out to communities and those in need through our larders. We'll continue to work on local procurement and working with David's team around the Ayrshire Manufacturing Improvement Service and the food and drink industry. Free meals and half-price school meals again have continued this year, and uptake continues to increase. However, we are reviewing menus and changing things to improve the ease of service, but we still have challenges and changes around early years and the delivery of services there. And obviously we've got the Leisure Trust changes as well, which will adapt the catering service going forward. Capital investment and progressing to net zero again features heavily within the action plan, developing the professional skills within our service and diversifying delivery models, driving value through that service and our programme management arrangements, and driving the value of our investment across the council. Longer term challenges are quite clear in terms of future investment, and obviously that wider national position in terms of our net zero investment in future. Asset management plans and reducing our estate portfolio again is an area of focus. We will bring forward a further asset management strategy, looking at maintenance and life cycle prioritisation, income maximisation through estates, and our FM staff's flexibility and managing key risks across the council and our services. I would like to put forward then the Facilities and Property Management Service Plan, and happy to take any questions, Chair.
Thanks, Andrew. Any comments or questions for Andrew?
Yeah, we've got a few comments, Leader. Thanks for the paper, Andrew. I just want to recognise the efforts of every member of staff within the Facilities and Property Management Service. It's probably one of the services that's been heavily impacted by the financial crisis and the ongoing financial crisis. Inflation's driven up the cost of material, food, labour, driven borrowing up. Yet the team have still delivered capital projects, maintained their property, expanded school meal provision, and delivered real action climate change. The external recognition and awards listed on page 166 are well deserved to the team. There's no doubt there's going to be further budgetary pressures put in the service, but I've got every confidence the team will continue to deliver an excellent service for the council. Well done, Andrew. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I agree with that. Anyone else? Claire Maitland. Claire.
Thanks, Dougie. It was just to point to page 159, the gender pay gap. So good to see us going in the right direction, and I think that needs noted because we've had a bit of a blip there. So I think there's been some excellent work going on. I see there's continuous projects, so just wanted to say thank you for that.
Thanks, Claire. Agree with that as well. Maureen. Hi, Maureen. Any issues with Councillor
Sorry,
McKenna?
I've just
All right, you there. Right, okay.
hitting the wrong button. Sorry, yep, it is. It's just a couple of questions. Post cost in terms of school milk, and also had we not taken a decision that we were disinvesting in investors and people as a council?
Yeah. Could you maybe repeat your first question again, Maureen? It just kind of broke up.
I am sorry. It was just to ask, after COSLA last Friday, what's the update position on school milk?
Yeah, there's an issue there in the distribution formula. Andrew, you aware? We'll get an answer to you, Maureen. Not, we'll try and get an answer to you as soon as we can on that one, just if we hear any further news on that one. And second point, Andrew.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, through you. The decision was previously taken through HR to sort of move away from the investors and people for their service, not from the facilities and property management service. The HR kind of was their accreditation was only within their service. It wasn't a council-wide service. It was only HR and facilities and property management have had the award. And again, in previous service plans, we've looked to retain that award. And obviously this year we've managed to kind of get the higher award that's gold.
It's good to hear. Okay. If there's
Okay,
no
could I
comments,
just
right?
say that
Certainly.
I suppose I think we need to move towards some kind of position as an authority, whether we are supporting investors and people and the costs associated with it, or whether we're not. I don't understand why we have got some services who are buying into that, and our HR are saying that they consider that there is no benefit to us as an organisation in terms of that, because there is actually costs associated with it. So is that something that we can look at some future point? And if somebody could just explain to me a mechanism whereby we could do that, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Some kind of consistency in approach to those people, systems and people.
Yep, happy to take that away, and I'll ask, Amanda Lowe to look at that overall. I mean, I would recognise they are very different services. The HR function and the facilities and property management functions are obviously very different. So there may be legitimate differences in why we do things differently. But to be fair to everyone, we should be transparent about what the differences are. So I'll ask Amanda Lowe to take that and lead that.
Thanks for that, Eddie.
That's terrific.
Okay. Thanks, Connie.
Helpful, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, if there's no questions or comments, can we go on to Blair Miller with the Housing Report?
Thank you, Leader, and good morning, members. So today I've set out the Housing and Communities priorities for the next 3 years. For me, I believe that our plan is centred around significant changes in direction for the portfolio, namely the waste review and the cross-cutting leisure and financial inclusion reviews, which will transform the portfolio. For me, this recognises the absolutely essential evolution that's required so that as a council, we can meet our immediate financial and other challenges and sustain high-performing service delivery for the longer term. I believe that we've produced a plan which is strategic in its outlook and that is concise and focused on the key issues. Again, I believe it provides a sound and sustainable basis for the future of these frontline services, and we look forward as we build on the improvements we've already made to council services, and that we must continue to deliver on our ambitious priorities. East Ayrshire's people, communities and businesses are the focal point for every decision we make, and our plan will help shape the authority's response to poverty, the climate emergency, and pressures on public services, as well as increasing the prosperity and well-being of the people, communities and businesses that we serve. Our plan makes clear that working with partners helps to drive efficiencies through all areas of the portfolio and ensures that, again, as a portfolio, that we are agile and responsive to the needs of our communities. Given recent workforce survey results, we have spotlights on the necessity to continue to invest in our workforce so they are capable, skilled, well-informed, involved in decision-making, and adaptable. I recognise that these priorities are closely interconnected. Taking forward one will also help achieve another. For example, as we continue to build and improve our housing stock to high environmental standards, we will not only meet housing need, but will also help to tackle poverty and have a positive impact on climate change ambitions. It's incumbent on us to look strategically at the inequalities that exist by using data-led frameworks to understand these synergies, dependencies and interconnections to make absolute best use of the public pound across all of the community planning partners and, importantly, to improve the lives of many. And I believe that housing and communities have a key role to play in this regard. Thank you, Chair, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Blair. That's that report. Any comments, questions, Jim?
Thanks, Blair, and again, just replicating the words of Councillor Barton to the predecessor. Thanks very much for the work that's been put into this in this review. We've already had, as you said, that cleaner community review, really comprehensive, and going through that process with leisure just now in our communities. It's still ongoing, but I really am looking forward to how greener communities and how that pans out over the next months. We know the challenges is ahead of us. They were highlighted again at the start by both Section 95 and Eddie, that budget costs again, especially some of the stuff we've already experienced with housing and the implications of that on us and how we're going to deliver that is really going to be challenging. But we know what's ahead of us and we know the challenges that's there, but really important for me that we take our tenants and the communities along with us on that journey and we keep them well informed.
Thanks. Thanks, Jim. Anyone else? Okay, that concludes the reports. Ian, you want back into summarising or just want to go straight to recommendations? Can we agree the recommendation laid down there? Okay. Thank you. I believe that concludes today's meeting. Thank you all for your attendance. And we've got a sounding board, maybe meet again at 12 o'clock. Does that suit? Or 12 o'clock?
Sorry, happy to do 12 o'clock. Sorry, I got cut off. I had to go for another different connection. So 12 o'clock's fine for me.
Thanks, Murray. Thank you.